Just get the YouTube link going over there.
But if I mute this, it'll mute, right?
Yeah.
You send the new one yet? Did you have questions about?
No, I just, I guess this might will just kind of give a general context of what we're at with the manuscript that we're now advocating and pushing for. That this is the time for notice recess before the president wants. Is this going to be translated on the other end somewhere, or do I have to pause for translation or that kind of stuff?
Actually, English is fine.
Okay.
So,
I never know that.
So, yeah, English will be fine. And then, let's see. And so, if there are like specific calls to action too, or where they can go to find out how to support the overall like, push. Yeah, actually, that would just be good for us to have, and so we can just push it out to all of our members in terms of how they can be, you know, really involved in pushing since this is actually critical. And then just that you know that TPS is can be a, you know, it's a part of this administrative function. Kind of folks are a little bit kind of like in more of a low mood because it's been so long that you know that we haven't had a decision, and there's many times that we've been told, okay, it's very soon, it's coming very soon. So so we're just trying to kind of increase the urgency.
Okay, I can do some kind of how many of you use your phone?
Yeah, I think you need the key.
And I'm on closer to 6.
Yes.
And just start talking.
It's going to be Jeffery, Ronda, then Carlo.
Did you click on the link, Aki?
That was sila sa Lalo.
Did you join?
Hello. Hi, Greg. Maybe we can check your sound real well.
Hey, Aki.
So you're down in sunny...
Can you hear me?
San Diego. I can hear you, yes. Can you hear me? Oh. Hello, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I was on mute. All right. So your sound is good. We just got the Philippine folks should be joining us in a minute. We have Shirla already here, Polo from Shirla, and then we have Joe Bernardo also coming. Do you know if Joe is already here?
I can check. That's awesome.
Do you? What about Leia and Michael.
I sent them the link.
Okay.
Oh.
So I guess, we're at 5:30, but we don't have anyone connected yet. But we are live right now. So I'm just going to go on mute until we start in just a couple minutes.
So this is our, this is the first Google Hangout on air that we posted.
Oh, yeah.
Getting all the text together.
When I used to work with Pico, we used to have like national ones and stuff. But,
Oh, really?
yeah.
What is it? What's over?
Hello.
So, Joe Bernardo hindi here.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi, is that Michael? Okay, so we have Michael. Hello, kumusta, Jeffery? Ready to go home?
Oo. Oo. Medyo nag-static lang minsan.
Okay, we're going to get started in just 30 seconds.
So is Mike gonna come in soon? Or are you gonna?
Are you on yet?
Yeah, we can get started.
So I need to do the audio check first though. So unmute your mic.
Oh, you need what?
Unmute your mics
Okay.
so I can see if the audio's coming through over there. Just like chat it up.
Okay, now we're doing a quick check on the sound. And as soon as we get confirmation that the sound is coming out on the YouTube channel, we will get started. So I just need to keep on talking until we get the sound check. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the speakers. I see we have Greg on the line. We have Michael from San Francisco. Hi, Michael.
Hi. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, and we can hear you too, so great. And we also have Jeffery, Carlo,
Yes.
Roanne, and Valerie from the Philippines already on the line as well.
Gandang umaga.
Tanghali na dito. Oh, gabi na. Hapon. Hapon na. Hapon na.
Hapon. Opo.
Let's see. And then here in the office, we do have Tita Lolita right next to me who will do the translation.
Tagalog to English.
And then we also have Polo from the Coalition for Humane Immigrants' Rights of Los Angeles. So we're almost ready. Do you want to check? See if... So this is our first Google Hangout on air that Filipino Workers Center has hosted. And you know, this is a part of the larger Relief to Recovery campaign.
All right, the laptop.
Is it good?
The laptop. There it is. Camera. So this-
Okay, one technical difficulty, so they're just switching out a laptop and then we can get started.
Live na to.
Ano?
Live na.
Okay lang. Relax ka muna.
Relax lang ako. Minum na.
Yun. Lahat ay gustong marinig sa balita ninyo.
Sige po. At handaan na naman kami mag-share ng kwento. Lahat ng kwento na namin.
Sige. Just remember sa ano nyo, kailangan medyo malakas ang salita ninyo. Maayon lang kami.
Okay.
Switching it. So almost. It's on schedule. You can take it down. Did you put out on? This page, there's a link, a website link that you can just put like into Facebook also. So we are live on YouTube. So we are live on YouTube now. For everyone who's watching, we're fixing one technical difficulty, and then we're going to get started. We already have our speakers on from the Philippines, updates from San Francisco, updates from Washington via San Diego. And we're almost ready to go.
Smile for the camera, people. Compress.
Okay lang mag-joke.
Joke. Whatever floats your boat.
Okay.
Gusto ko 4 minutes na.
Basta ito lang, palatandaan lang po ito. 4.
No problem. 4 minutes. Nurasa ko na yun.
Tapos yung last minute, ito human interest, personal, o kaya yung experience ng masa, PO, tapos yung mga datos na kailangan ibigay.
Pero na lang yung sa akin.
Yan si Aquilina siya. At saka mag-i-acknowledge niyo yung mga listener, ay yung mga naka-tune in online.
Michael Berg, si Doug.
Okay, everyone, here we go. Welcome everyone who is here, who's joining us online, who is calling over phone conferencing for the Relief to Recovery online town hall forum about temporary protected status for the Philippines and the ongoing effort for the long-term recovery of the Philippines. I'm Aquilina Soriano Versoza. I am your facilitator or host for today. I'm the executive director of the Filipino Workers Center, and really proud to be a part of this Relief to Recovery effort. We are here on this town hall today because this is still an urgent and priority for our community. We know that there are so many that are still suffering locally here in the U.S., and those families that are still suffering in the Philippines as well. We know that Super Typhoon Haiyan hit the Philippines November 8th of 2013. 4.3 million were displaced. 1.1 million homes were destroyed. And this was the strongest storm to hit landfall in the history of the world as we know it. So, and it caused just devastating impact and destruction in the Philippines. And we know that we felt the impact because we have our family, we have our friends that have been impacted. And it is over 8 months since the typhoon hit. However, we know the recovery has been very slow and that there is still a huge need in the Philippines, and we need to keep urgency. So this town hall meeting, we are going to hear from the Philippines on the ground about the current situation and the ongoing crisis of the recovery effort. And we are urging, and we are going to call everyone to action to continue to urge that temporary protected status is granted to the Philippines. And we know that the Department of Homeland Security that has the power to make the decision on TPS, that they have already gone through so many processes, and that it is ready to be, is ready for them. They are ready to make a decision, or they can actually make a decision now. So we need to show them how important this issue is. And especially now, when the new typhoon season has struck, and we already had the first deadly typhoon of the season, and millions are still vulnerable, that it is now even more important that we push for TPS and long-term recovery. And at the same time, we're at a very specific moment in the U.S. right now, because President Obama has declared that he will take presidential or administrative action to provide immigration relief.
Sure. It's on, I think.
So this is a moment when we need to be pushing for relief to our communities here in the United States, Filipinos, and for all immigrants, but also for a continued commitment to aid and support the Philippines in the recovery effort. So today we're going to hear from the Philippines, from the Community Disaster Response Center, and specifically from the Leyte Center for Development. We have speakers direct from Ormoc, Leyte. And then we also have Greg Cendana, who will be speaking, representing the Relief to Recovery campaign. We have Joe Bernardo from the Office of the Mayor here in Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti. We have Polo Morales from CHIRLA, the Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles. And then we also have Michael Tayag from the Northern California to report to us about their actions there. And later we should be joined by Leah Obias in New York as well. So first I want to turn it over to the Philippines. Our first speaker is Jeffery Ronda. He's the project field coordinator of the Leyte Center for Development. And he's going to give us more information about the current situation in the Philippines, especially from their region, and about the current ongoing crisis and their programs there. Jeffrey, welcome.
Ito, lahat ng mga nanonood, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Ngayon ay yung sinabi nga ni Ate Aquilina na ibigay po namin yung situation ngayon dito para maging malinaw din sa inyo kung ano talaga ang kalagayan sa likod ng na maganda na at maayos na yung kalagayan. Una, pagkatapos po, yung nangyari po ay naitala po natin yung mga nasira at mga buhay na nawala. Yun po yung mga naitala natin. Una, sa usapin ng buhay, umabot ng approximately 5,000 plus yung mga nawala ng buhay, mabata, matanda, babae o lalaki man. Tapos hanggang ngayon, approximately 1,000 plus rin yung missing ngayon. At sa kalagayang pang-ekonomiya naman dito ay umabot yung mga damages sa 27,000 plus sa usapin ng agrikultura ang na-wash out at yung sa industriya ng 40,000.
Hello, Jeffrey. Hello. We wanted to translate. Can you give me time? Because I cannot follow. Give me, for example, 2 sentences and then stop, and then I'll translate for the others to understand.
Okay.
So can you go ahead? Do you want to repeat it or?
Okay, sure din. Una, magandang hapon sa lahat ng mga nanonood sa nito.
Okay, so he's saying that good afternoon to all participants in this town hall forum today. Yeah, go ahead.
Opo. Ngayon po ay ilalatan po namin yung kalagayan dito sa Pilipinas hinggil sa pagkatapos ng Typhoon Yolanda. Kung ano yung
personal. I cannot hear.
Yung ano namin po, i-discuss po namin yung lahat ng kalagayan ng mga tao dito sa Pilipinas pagkatapos ng Yolanda.
Okay, so we will discuss the condition of the people in Leyte after the Yolanda typhoon. Go ahead.
Dito sa rehiyon po, yung natala ay yung mga namatay, nawalan ng buhay ay is 6,000 plus, mahigit 6,000. Tapos 1,000 plus yung mga missing pa hanggang ngayon.
Okay. So in our region, there's still 6,000 who died, and until now we have 1,000 who are still missing and not accounted for. Yeah. Go ahead.
Tapos, pagkatapos po sa usapin ng ekonomiya, umabot ng 27,000 yung mga nasira at 40,000 o 40,000 yung nasira sa industriya.
So, in terms of economy, cannot hear. Can you repeat it? I cannot hear.
Sa usapin ng ekonomiya, sa agrikultura is 27,560. So, nasira na mga crops sa agrikultura. Yung sige po, ulitin po. Sa ekonomiya na usapin, regarding sa agriculture is umaabot ng 27,560 yung mga nasirang mga crops. Tapos sa industriya naman is umaabot ng 40,000 po, ate.
So, in terms of the economy, there's 57,560 crops that were destroyed. And in another industry, there's like 40,000.
At sa mga bahay, opo, at sa mga bahay po, 219,000 plus yung mga sinasirang bahay pagkatapos ng bagyo.
So in their area, there's like 219,000 plus houses that were destroyed by the typhoon.
Opo. At sa tugon po ng gobyerno dito, kung sa usapin ng pabahay, halos 30% pa lang yung tinutugunan ng gobyerno na may sa halos. Ang focus nila is mas nakikita pa na doon pa sa mga commercialized center pa yung pinatutukan na makabangon. Dapat sana yung mga... Sige po, ate.
So, so in terms of government response, they have only done 30% of the houses, and the focus is on the commercial areas.
Yeah. So ngayon, kahit sa personal kong buhay, kahit kami, ay magpapatunay na hindi natutugunan yung mga nangangailangan sa usapin ng pabahay, sa ekonomiya na kalagayan na muling makabangon. Kahit ako, wala pa rin akong bahay ngayon at patuloy pa rin kaming tumutulong sa mga tao kahit naman yung kalagayan.
So in terms of my personal thing, I myself have not yet really recovered. Yeah, just
tapos, opo, yung mga tao dito na umaasa at humihingi ng tulong sa ating gobyerno ay hindi pa rin nabibigyan, at yung ginigigit na 40,000 ng mga tao sa pamamagitan ng organisasyon ng People Search, hindi pa rin naibibigay ng gobyerno. Bagkus yung ibibigay ngayon ay yung mga militarisasyon sa mga baryo na minsan ay nakakasira din sa pagpasok ng ating mga tulong.
Okay, so even the 40,000 that's supposed to be paid or to be given by the government, it's not yet done. And what is going on is the ongoing militarization in their area, which also prevents the smooth transition of all the health and recovery in those areas.
Kasi minsan, ang nangyayari, pinopoliticize ng mga local government units yung mga tulong natin na pumapasok. At minsan, yung mga NGO natin, yung mga non-government workers natin, minsan tinatag-red pa nila, minsan binibigyan pa ng red labeling yung mga tao. Kaya minsan, nagiging rin ng pagbagal ng tulong pumasok.
So, in terms of like what's going on is that there's like politics going on between the local politicians and those NGOs that are helping the recovery and relief are also being tagged, which is now becomes a problem in the smooth delivery of the relief efforts.
Ang patunay nga yan, sa ganyan, bakit nasabi namin minsan nagiging problema rin. Dahil sa ngayon, isa sa mga isang beneficiary natin ng binaril sa Calvica, Western Samar. Sa kadahilanan na hindi namin alam, ewan namin kung politika, na minsan sa amin din, part din ng mga NGO parang kinakabahan kami na rin dumikit sa mga tao. So, hindi namin alam kung may mga politika na nakaka-apekto rin sa atin. Pero patuloy pa rin kami tumutulong kahit ganyan yung kalagayan.
So one of the beneficiary was also killed, and we are all like in fear that probably we as like who wants just to help would also be tagged as like and then be killed. Yeah, you go.
So, sa ngayon po, yung panawagan po namin sa mga tao dyan na tutulungan din, hindi lang sa pagtulong sa mga material na bagay, kundi kahit din sa paggigiit din at isigaw sa gobyerno ninyo na tulungan na ibigay at i-release din yung 40,000 na mga dapat ibigay sa mga taong biktima ng ulan. Tapos pangalawa, igiit din.
Can I translate? So we are asking the people over in the U.S. not just to help in terms of material, but also to help them in fighting for the cause by forcing or like pressuring the government to give the 40,000 that's needed to help in the rebuilding of the what the typhoon destroyed. Yeah.
At dapat pangalawa, at dapat din ipaalala sa Noy sa Pinoy government na dapat ibigay niya yung dapat ibigay sa mga tao. At pangalawa,
excuse me. So we also wanted to remind the Pinoy government that they should be giving what is due for the people affected.
Yun lang po yung namin.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Now we have another next speaker from the Philippines, and I really want to thank them because they traveled 3 hours to get to internet access so they could join us today. We have Carlo Jerusalem, who is also from the Citizens Disaster Response Center. Hello, Carlo.
I'm actually from LCDE.
Oh, LCDE. So also from Leyte Community Development or Center for Development. So, kailangan nyo ba ng translation or pwede kayo mag-English na lang or Taglish?
It's okay, Miss Aki, I can speak English.
Okay, maganda. Sige.
First of all, I would like to greet all our listeners and viewers, and of course you, Miss Aki. And I am sorry that our executive director could not be here to give you the project update, so I will be speaking for her in her behalf as LCD's Advocacy Coordinator. Okay. So to date, as we all know, LCD was spared from Typhoon Yolanda, and our office was also severely damaged. But despite that, we were able to operate as early as November 17, and we have conducted relief and emergency operations throughout the region of Eastern Visayas. And I would like to thank, of course, our network from CTRN, which helped us, face the challenges. And today we were able to serve around 30,000 households across the region through our donors from Japan, which is Peacewind, Diakoni, CARE, and WJR and Hope Bridge from Korea. So our current operations of LCDE, we have ongoing operations in Leyte and Samar, which is rehab, shelter, and livelihood assistance from the victims. And the donors that are currently supporting us are Diakoni, CARE, and WJR, and Peacewind. So what we have observed throughout the communities that we are serving is that we have the government's response to the needs of the people are severely lacking, and that we hope that the efforts of CDE and the other organizations that are engaged in this assistance are sort of a wake-up call for our government.
Thank you. Carlo, we also have Roanne and Valerie from the Leyte Center for Development. And we'd like to welcome them. They're also going to tell some about their stories here of what they've experienced. Hello, Valerie. Hello, Roanne. Kumusta kayo?
Okay, we're okay. Good afternoon to all our listeners.
So if you can tell us some more about your experiences and maybe some of the stories of how people are still trying to survive.
I'll just start. The night before the typhoon, I decided to sleep in the office. Excuse me. Excuse me. We don't have that. Excuse me. We really want to know about the situation right now, or actually happen. Wala.
Okay, maybe you can start again kasi yung sound was not very good.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So nung tatagalog lang po ako.
Okay.
So nung gabi po before ng typhoon,
The night before the typhoon,
nag-decide pa ako na sa office matulog kasi naisip ko na safe doon kasi nga konkreto yung walls tapos nandun yung mga kasama ko. So in case na mag-evacuate, at least sama-sama lang kami. Tapos inayos ko rin yung
I was thinking that I would sleep over in the office because I was thinking it was more safe because the walls of the office are concrete and there are other people there. So in case we needed to evacuate, that I would have people with me.
So tapos yung mga gamit namin, nung gabi po, noong November 7, yung mga gamit sa office, inakyat namin sa second floor dahil ang ina-anticipate namin talaga ay baha. So yung mga computers, mga laptops, itinaas namin sa second floor.
So in December 7, we anticipated that all the office equipment will be destroyed. So we put them on the second floor. Okay.
So nung November 8 na nung umaga.
Hindi ko rin marinig.
Nung November 8 na nung umaga, nung malakas na ang hangin, nagtago na kami sa computer room. Kasi nasa hallway lang kami ng office nung gabi. So nung lumakas na yung hangin nung umaga, nagtago kami sa computer room kasi parang sealed kasi siya. Kasi nung time na malakas na yung hangin, yung bintana namin, yung glass, sumasabog na. So baka kami nabubog. So nagtago kami sa
So on the morning of November 8, we went and hid in the computer room because of the winds are becoming stronger and we might be hurt. Okay, just continue.
Tapos realize namin na wala nang bubong yung computer room namin, kaya lumabas na rin kami kasi hindi na rin safe. Kasi wala na siyang bubong. So lumabas na kami, nung nakita namin na wala nang bubong yung buong office, nagdesisyon kami na lumabas na lang talaga sa office building namin kasi hindi na delikado.
So, when the roof were already gone, so we decided just to come out because it would be so hard if we stay in the office building.
Buti na lang din na nakalabas kami kasi nag-collapse na yung second floor. Buti nakalabas kami before pa nag-collapse yung second floor. So, tumakbo kami
excuse me. So it is better that we're able to get out because the second floor already collapsed.
So, tumakbo kami papunta sa dormitory namin. Mga parang 100 meters lang yung layo niya mula sa office building namin. Pero hindi kami makapunta doon kasi ang lakas-lakas ng hangin. 3 beses akong natumba dahil sa lakas ng hangin.
Yeah, so we ran to the dormitory, which is like 100 meters away, but we cannot run because of the strong winds, and I myself, I wasn't able to run, and 3 times I
fell.
Sorry. Just continue. Ano ba yung sinadapa?
Buti na lang din na nakasuot ako ng helmet kasi napagsakan ako ng puno.
So it was better that I am wearing a helmet because the tree fell down on me.
At least hindi ako na anuhan. Tapos noon, hindi nakatawid na kami. Doon kami nagtago sa maliit na shower room.
And we just hide in the shower room to protect ourselves.
1 minute na lang. Anyway, buti na there were 8 of us inside the shower room. Tapos hinahawakan na namin yung bubong para hindi pasukin ng iba pang mga nagliliparang mga gamit.
So when we were in the shower room, we just hold on the roof so it won't be flown away.
Tapos doon na lang kami nagtay hanggang sa matapos na yung malakas na hangin. Siguro mga 2 hours kami doon. Almost sa loob ng tapos.
So we just stayed there for 2 hours until it stopped for 2 hours.
Tapos nung lumabas kami, doon na namin nakita kung gaano kalaki yung damage at saka yung devastation. So sana po tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung tulong na dumating kasi until now, maraming tao pa rin ang nakatira sa tent, marami pa rin ang nagugutom, marami pa rin ang walang trabaho kasi marami ang nasirang mga establishments. So sana tuloy-tuloy pa din ang tulong.
So we're asking for help because until now, there's still a lot of people who go hungry, needs help, no jobs, and yeah.
Thank you, marami pong salamat, Roanne. Valerie, did you also want to share a little bit? And I'm very sorry, this time is a little bit short. If we can just have a short story.
The area where I reside was heavily hit by the typhoon because I'm living in Townhall, Leyte. So at that time, actually, since then, people are really displaced due to having no residences, political interests on relief operations and rehabilitation operations. Also, the government continually giving broken promises that they will give cash assistance, continue relief assistance. Offices, schools are around 80% not fixed. people are still in trauma. Number one, people are still in trauma here. So I really hope that uh, organizations, people from other places can still help, either in whatever way they can help in relief operations, food, to pressure the government to give their obligation to us, like the cash assistance that they were saying. Continue help us get jobs so we can sustain our lives. So I'm just gonna make this short.
And have you seen the help? Have you seen the dollars and the assistance from overseas Filipinos help in this effort?
In our area, because actually my area is like there's a political something going on, and we really don't know what is happening from the donations, even the relief goods. We're having problems in finding out where it came from, or even if there was something that arrived that from that organization, that person or something. Also in repacking, DSWD, mga, how can I say it? It's like we're still displaced. I don't know how to put it. It's so hard to explain. It's very hard to explain.
Thank you, Valerie. And I think we really need to remember this. It was a trauma, people are still traumatized. And even though it's not in the media, we need to continue this urgency. Greg, I want to go to you now. We have Greg Cendana. He's the Executive Director of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, who has been very active in the Relief to Recovery campaign. Greg, can you give us more about currently where temporary protected status is at and what the campaign has been doing?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So thank you again to those in the Philippines for sharing your stories. I think it's very important for people to understand the need and necessity for broader recovery efforts, including the need for the Department of Homeland Security to grant temporary protected status for the Philippines. And so currently, where it's at right now is that the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson has been briefed and is actually the decision is actually on his desk right now. And so he has the ability with a stroke of a pen to grant TPS for the Philippines. And so we've been continuing to urge him and work with our champions and allies in Washington, D.C. to make that happen. As Aki mentioned, the Relief to Recovery Coalition has been playing an active role in pushing for TPS. We are a coalition of more than 60 local, statewide, and national organizations that have been working tirelessly to see TPS granted. Everything from meeting with key agencies like the Department of State, Department of Homeland Security, the White House, and most recently with USCIS, which is the U.S. Customs and Immigration Services. We met with the director, Leon Rodriguez, and the deputy director, Lori Shialaba, to continue to make the case for TPS. And just today, actually, our strong partners and allies in the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, or CAPAC, who are all the Asian Pacific American members of Congress on the Hill, sent another letter affirming their support and the need for temporary protected status for the Philippines to Secretary Johnson directly. And it is our hope that we should be hearing something from the Department of Homeland Security over the next couple of weeks, especially while Congress, who's actually after today going into recess for the month of August.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. Now, I want to bring, we have here in the office, we have Joseph Bernardo. He is a representative from the office of Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti's office. And Mayor Garcetti and his staff have been very, very supportive of this campaign and really reaching out to Department of Homeland Security and doing a lot because they know how important this issue is. So I want to thank and bring on Joseph Bernardo.
Thanks, Aki, for inviting me here today. Just so you know, the mayor just. Right, it's kind of weird. Okay. The mayor just established the mayor's office of Immigrant Affairs about a year ago, and it was established because we know in Los Angeles we have a high number of immigrants, and while most immigrant legislation has to do with federal, there's a lot we can do locally to help welcome immigrants to the U.S. and to address the needs of many migrants, especially in Los Angeles, where it has the largest Filipino population outside the Philippines. And so the mission of our office is to basically ensure any kind of city services are utilized by the immigrant community, and to make sure that to support any kind of legislation or any other kind of affairs that immigrant communities have. And so months ago, this is before I joined the Office of Immigrant Affairs, we wrote a support letter for TPS to Department of Homeland Security, and understanding that it's going to impact Los Angeles, whether you're politically on the left or the right, it's going to affect the city of Los Angeles and local communities. So our letter knew that, and that's why we wrote a support letter, and we actually called then Secretary Jay Johnson to support TPS. And also the LA City Council also passed a resolution supporting TPS. And so, and actually currently, we're drafting a letter to President Obama for administrative relief, and included in that is a part for the passage of TPS. And so, I know many local governments in the United States have like a Department of Immigrant Affairs or Office of Immigrant Affairs. So, I think in many organizations throughout the nation can call on their local officials to help kind of rally support around TPS. And so, although cities don't have necessary jurisdiction over legislation on immigration, I think local governments still can make a difference. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph. And there has been action on the city level around the country with resolutions passed by New York City, by San Francisco. So definitely the pressure is important, and to let the government know. So now we have Polo Morales from the Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles to talk about this moment where administrative relief is a possibility and how it also relates to temporary protected status. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Warm introduction. Okay, I'm in the shot now. Excellent. First, I want to start off by saying it's really a shame that Filipinos living in the U.S. cannot travel and be with their families. And I think that speaks volumes on the issue of immigration not being addressed, not being, with the idea of passing immigration reform, this has led to this type of family separation, and the sadness and the stress and the anger and frustration that this creates. Now, so how do we address that? The options that we have at this moment is really through the temporary protective status through administrative relief. Now, this administrative relief can only come about, as we saw with the example of youth and dreamers in this country, when they started telling the stories in public, when they started letting the rest of America, the U.S., know that there is suffering and they want to see progress. When that happened, that shifted the dynamic, that allowed for the political space for the president to act and create the Deferred Action Program. And that only came about by stepping out into the limelight and saying and calling for and demanding this specific change. Now, we're in a position where the next administrative relief is coming down. The president has said he wants to act before September 21st, which is the end of summer, and we're going to hold him to that. And what we're doing as a Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles is we want to lift up those stories, and we want to work with allies, with different ethnic communities, the Filipino community, everyone standing together saying this is the type of administrative relief that we want to see. We want to see temporary protective status for Filipinos so they can be able to be reconnected with their families. Now, that's only going to happen if we protect what we've won so far, which is a commitment for the president to act. Now, in August is when the Republicans, the congressmen come back locally, and they're going to hear a specific message, a very anti-immigrant message, but we're going to be right there organizing to make sure that folks are going to have their voices heard, to provide the other point of view on this, to try to get as much administrative relief that includes TPS for Filipinos to be reunited with their families. But we can't do that alone, and we're relying on working together to make sure that that happens. And if you don't have anything else to do in August, that's the time to take action. It's the time to get involved. It's the time to share your story out in the public. If we can do that, if we can advocate directly for that type of administrative change, then we can win. If we stay home, it's not going to happen. We've been pushing from every place. We've been trying to get as much administrative relief to be able to provide work permits, to be able to stay here without the fear of deportation. That is going to be a fundamental key ask, but we also have to hear from the Filipino community that TPS is a top priority and it needs to happen now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's right. Is what has made temporary protected status get to this point where we were able to get to the Philippine government to make the request for the State Department to give a recommendation has been the community pressure and the voices of those affected and not affected making this a priority and taking action around it. And we have been really a national effort. I'm going to go to you, Leah. This is Leah Obias from Damayan Migrants in New York to tell us about the efforts in New York.
Maraming salamat po. Ako po si Leah Obias from Damayan Migrant Workers Association in New York City. We're a membership organization of low-wage Filipino migrant workers, mostly domestic workers in the New York area. So thank you again for the speakers, especially from the Philippines. It's really important for us to hear from you on the ground about how much work we still have to do because the media here has really lost interest in the issues. So the stories that you told are really very impactful. So when Haiyan hit, many of our members' families were directly affected, losing homes and livelihood, and our members really felt the effects of this. They had to increase remittances back home and aid, of course, to their families, despite low wages and poor working conditions as undocumented migrant workers. So they continue now to send money home for the rebuilding efforts of their families and communities 9 months later. And they're still in dire need of humanitarian immigration relief in the form of TPS so that they can continue to support the rebuilding efforts and increase their aid. So Damayan has been involved in the Relief to Recovery campaign from the beginning. We also ran a relief campaign called Sagip Tulong sa Pilipinas that raised money to partner with organizations on the ground in the Philippines to get direct aid to affected communities. But knowing that migrant workers are the first line of aid, we still continue to call for TPS here in New York with our sisters and brothers across the country. We're also involved here in organizing for the People's Climate March, which will be a historic march to coincide with the UN Climate Summit. And we're connecting the issues of climate change and climate justice to our call for TPS, since we know the cause of so much of the environmental destruction and the so-called natural disasters in the Philippines are really caused by climate change, which is really because of transnational corporations and governments of first world countries like the United States. So with our sisters and brothers in the Relief to Recovery campaign, we'll continue to pressure the Department of Homeland Security to grant TPS. And as more typhoons hit the Philippines, we will continue to support the Filipino people and call for justice for victims of the typhoons and of victims of climate change. So
Thank you, Leah. And now we're going back to the West Coast here. We have Michael Tayag from Northern California. Please introduce yourself, Michael, and let us know. I know you've been very active, but also up in the Bay Area.
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm a staff member of the Northern California chapter of the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns, or NAPCON. Thanks so much to all the speakers, to Aki and others for organizing this. Lalo na po kayo mga kasama sa Pilipinas sa inyong patuloy na pagkikilos dyan sa Leyte. I just wanted to update on, well, first of all, the continued importance and urgency of TPS and also some of the work we've been doing here in Northern California. We've been working with BALSA, or Bayanihan Alay sa Sambayanan, which is a grassroots alliance of organizations in the Philippines, to send delegates on solidarity health missions to the Philippines. In fact, we recently had some folks just finish their mission last week, and overwhelmingly the feedback that we've heard is that a lot of goods are not reaching the people, a lot of donations are not reaching the people because of politicization and militarization. And a lot of areas look like the typhoon just hit yesterday. So definitely this is an urgent issue so that Filipinos here can continue contributing to aid for the Philippines, and so that you know, they're not re-traumatized in trying to help their families and loved ones over there. So here in Northern California, we've been continuing to collect signatures, especially in the big drive with Relief to Recovery. So we continue to collect signatures from individuals and organizations. We also worked on getting that resolution passed in San Francisco, the local resolution to support the passing of TPS. And like Damayan, we have recently launched a campaign for environmental justice. So this national campaign includes not only continued fundraising and support for relief and long-term rehabilitation in the Philippines, but also continuing to send people on solidarity health missions and addressing issues of government corruption and policies that exacerbate and don't protect the people from continued and inevitable natural disasters in the Philippines. So upcoming things for that are we're helping organize a summits in both New York and a concurrent summit in Southern California for environmental justice, which is coming up in September. And we also have the National General Assembly for NAFCON in October. And in all of those things, TPS is going to be a top priority that we want to continue working on, and we're excited to continue working with you all.
Thank you, Michael, for that update. And now, like Polo said, we need to continue to take action because this is not a dead issue. It is still an ongoing issue that is being processed in the Department of Homeland Security. And we just need to light a fire under them to make the final decision. So we have some new creative action that we want to take, and I want to welcome Don Dimanson, who is a member of the Association of Filipino Workers, to tell you about what action we're planning.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to tell you about the call to action. So more than a Band-Aid action. So this is not just a Band-Aid. We want the full treatment. So take action to challenge the U.S. government to show their commitment to the long-term relief effort by granting full TPS now. Challenge the U.S. government by showing how we are committed to the relief and recovery effort. And I would add preparedness. When you pledge to donate $6 or more, your money will not only go to help the families rebuild their lives, it will also send a large Band-Aid to the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Jay Johnson, that says a statistic about the ongoing crisis and the urgency for full TPS now, like a Band-Aid like this, only bigger. Okay. Now it is not a call-in, but a sing-in action day. Call into DHS and sing, okay, I need help here.
So the first action is, you're with us online. You can also, for 1 week until midnight of next Friday, we're going to be asking our community and our supporters to donate $6 so that part of that money, a majority of that money will go to the relief effort, and any money given beyond $6 will go directly to the relief effort, to the groups that talked today from the Philippines. And then the other amount will go for us to take action, to send, these packages that have messages that tell Secretary Johnson that we need more than a Band-Aid. We need long-term recovery, and we need them to show their commitment, and that we as a community are willing to show our commitment for the long-term recovery, and that it's their turn to continue to step up. And then we will be calling for a Sing-In Action Day. Many of you know the Band-Aid commercial, and instead of to that tune, we want you to call in and to sing to them. TPS is stuck with Johnson. Johnson, stick with us. So that's the Band-Aid jingle. So we need to get to them in creative ways, right? We need to get to Johnson in creative ways. So we will be launching right now on the Facebook and the Relief to Recovery website. You can now find the place where you can go to click to donate, to join this action, to take action with your dollars, and to take action with your voice. So spread the word to everyone that you can. And we will also be announcing over the next week a national call-in day that we will do with the larger immigration movement here, where we will call directly into President Obama and tell him that we need him to hold to his promise of taking administrative action, and that TPS, temporary protected status for the Philippines, needs to be a part of that administrative relief. So we need more humanitarian aid to the Philippines. We need that aid to reach the families who really need it, and we need climate justice, and we need temporary protected status now. So that is the conclusion of our town hall. Thank you everyone for joining us. This has also been recorded, so we are going to broadcast it and bring it to many more people. It's important for us to be strong as a Filipino community, to build our voice so that we can make sure that the issues that are important to us are lifted up and are taken action on. We can have a strong voice in the larger immigration movement as well, and we can have a strong voice in the climate justice movement as well. So thank you again from the Philippines, Valerie, Jeffery, Roanne, and Carlo. Thank you so much for traveling such a long distance to join us and to tell us your stories. We are going to get out your message also that we need to send relief, but we also need to stand in solidarity to make sure that, you know, the efforts that you are doing, that the relief is able to get to where it needs to go, that there's no militarization, that you know, that the relief and recovery effort is not politicized to political groups, that we need to help all in need, and we need to make sure that we help all in need get to full recovery, which is not just relief, it's really being able to sustain themselves with livelihood, and to really rebuild a life that is viable and sustainable. So thank you so much. Maraming pong salamat. Thank you to everyone across the country who participated. Greg, thank you. Leah, Michael, thank you. Dondi, Joseph, and Polo. And thank you, everyone. This concludes our town hall. For more information, remember to go to www.tpsforfilipinos.org, or you can go to our Facebook page, Relief to Recovery, or TPS for Filipinos. And if you want to find out more information about the Filipino group, you can also look up online the Community Disaster Relief Center in the Philippines and the Leyte Center for Development also. So you can see they have some amazing videos and reports, and you can see what's really happening. So I want to thank everyone who joined. Marami pong salamat. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.